Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think people in this county are finally starting to connect the dots?
I think that, and I think some of the most reasonable people are starting to pay attention.
I don't quite blame them. I mean, we want to have faith in those that claim that they're on our side, that they are upholding truth and justice. These things shatter their belief in the system, their belief in religion.
Or life as they know it.
Yeah.
Pretty messed up. Welcome to Liberty Without Compromise. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County where we expose the political power players, politicians, social influencers, religious leaders. I think more so than we ever knew we were going to. That's why we're here. We're your hosts, Dan and Donna Wilson. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. We'll take those comments throughout the program. You can participate right there in the comment section on whichever platform you're joining us tonight. And make sure to click that share button, share this feed to your page or profile so more of us can get involved in this very important and what will be a very critical community conversation tonight. A reminder that opinions expressed are ours only, not necessarily that of our advertisers, sponsors, or affiliates. If you're listening back on our podcast, be sure to catch us live every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Tonight on Liberty Without Compromise, we're exposing a deeper, darker network operating inside Kootenai County. A brand new whistleblower has released over almost an hour and a half of recorded audio from a former member of the Alters Recovery Program confronting Pastor Tim. We will not be listening to the hour and a half audio. We will be highlighting some pieces from that tonight. In that conversation, Remington minimizes the assault, maybe more of a minor, shifts blame onto victims, contradicts himself, and justifies allowing known sex offenders around teenage girls. This is very disturbing. And we're going to break down the most revealing moments. Also, look at what this audio confirms about the Altar Church, Remington's recovery programs, and the system that he's built around that ranch recovery program, the church leadership, and vulnerable people. Plus, tonight, the move by Sheriff Bob Norris and Davalu Cummings to oppose a citizen's private land use request, why that may be rooted in personal motives, not public interest. An update on the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, a program that appears to be collapsing despite KCSO still trying to push it forward. And then also some breaking news tonight that Sheriff Bob Norris pulled cross-deputizations from the Coeur d'Alene Police Chief Lee White and Captain Dave Hagar of Rathdrum PD, also Rathdrum Chief Daniel Haley. Dan's going to talk to us about what might be going on there. Jump right into the comments throughout the show. We're going to be reacting to your questions and insights live. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Episode 50. Can you believe that it is our 50th episode already?
I think I can.
Time flies. It's yeah. You know, we put out almost one per week since the beginning of the year, more than I ever thought we were going to do. So, hey, cheers to 50. 50 more, huh? That's a good one. Hey, for those of you that are out joining us, we appreciate it. We have a lot of heavy things that we're going to be talking about tonight later on. If you have sensitive ears, you need to make certain that they exit out because you're going to be hearing things that are going to be uncomfortable. for many of you. But when we expose things in order to bring the light, to bring liberty, it requires sometimes that we talk about those things. You know, my mom used to say, she would quote scripture and she'd say, you know what? You're not even supposed to even utter the things that people do in the dark. And I actually think that was a misinterpretation of scripture. I think that what we really needed to get out of that is that, you know, because it's shameful to even talk about those things. That's what you know, the idea behind that is the acts are so shameful of themselves. People don't even like to talk about it. Not that you shouldn't mention it, but it is so deep, so gross that a lot of people don't even want to say it. Like when you're asking people about their sexual habits. What do you think about a pastor that has an obsession with asking people about, especially females, their sexual habits? We're going to hear about that coming up. But as we have dived for several weeks into the deep, dark underbelly of Kootenai County, you may be asking, if you've watched this show for any length of time, why are you moving all of a sudden from liberty, all things liberty, talking about the founders, and why are you diving so deep into this? Because it requires, as those of you out there who are also free men, free women of liberty, we don't compromise liberty for those that are vulnerable. And what we have seen for the past several weeks is a pattern of abuse by people in authority, people that are supposed to protect the innocent. And they're not doing it. In fact, they are not only not protecting the innocent, they're feeding the innocent to the wolves.
I want to add to what you're saying, because that is a really good point that we originally and throughout, we always want the focus to be on liberty and on hope, and that charge to stay strong and courageous and highlight those things. Yeah. What we've really been able to do over the past few weeks is pivot very quickly as events have unfolded. And it's something like what Dan's saying, when you understand the evils that are at play or what is in front of you, you can't unknow that. When you have people coming to you and sharing those stories and witnesses giving their firsthand accounts, we don't turn our back on that. So while it can take a dark tone and feel heavy, or we can be accused of doing something like this to sensationalize, really it is actually with heaviness in our hearts that we do it.
Yeah.
Because we have a responsibility to the truth, and as much as
we have a responsibility to the victims. When we look the victims in the eyes that we meet with, they demand justice. And we don't met out justice. No. I'm not in position of law enforcement, but hopefully for those, and we know that law enforcement is watching this because Coeur d'Alene police records reiterated this fact when I requested some records last week. They're watching this show. I hope that what you in law enforcement discover from what we produce is beneficial, because ultimately you guys are the ones charged with making certain people are brought to justice, and justice is served for the innocent. So just remember, it's in your own community. You don't like looking at these things. I said this when I was on the campaign trail. If we can't protect the most vulnerable among us, then who are we as Americans? Who are we as people of faith? You cannot turn a blind eye. You may find yourself completely disillusioned because your places of worship, whether it is candlelight, whether it is the altar, whether it is other places of worship around here, you may find yourself disillusioned going, I don't even know. I've had my faith and trust. I've gone to these places for decades. My kids have gone there. My kids have gotten married in these places. Mm-hmm. It's not the institution that you have a relationship with. You have personal relationship with your Savior and with those that you are in fellowship with. So remember to see the bright, shining light through all this darkness, because there is one. And that is, you'll find it through your faith in Christ. but your faith also in those that align with you, that you know are true brothers and sisters. A pastor today, in large part, is not what it originally was, in my opinion, in New Testament. Those shepherds were shepherds of smaller flocks, not these pastors over thousands of people that have no way of truly knowing his flock in and out and truly ministering to their needs. And I want to give a big shout out to my favorite pastor. Yes, I have a personal pastor, despite what many of you naysayers think. Pastor Jeff in Tillamook. We're so glad to hear that you are not affected by the flooding. Remember those in Tillamook and the Oregon coast and other places that are experiencing flooding. Speaking of flooding, we have been flooded today with people wanting to know, have you seen the news about Bob Norris and the special deputization? So we got a little quick video. We're going to show this. For those of you who may not pay attention or haven't seen this yet, let's go ahead and show what the hubbub is currently about. Nope, not that one. It's the video. Yeah. So I'll ad lib here.
You're going to have to.
We don't have the video?
Oh, you're going to have to tell me.
Okay, it's the screenshot video. Facebook.
Okay,
Facebook.
I am ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go. Cooney County has revoked the special deputization. Coeur d'Alene Chief White, Captain Hager, and the Rathdrum Chief. And there's a lot of interesting comments going on. Why would he do that? Look, those that have followed us from the beginning, you know that the special deputizations is something that I've harped on for a very long time. Of course, Norris took the special deputizations away, and cross-deputizations rather. Let me get terminology correct. Special deputizations are usually given to people that are not currently sworn law enforcement officers. Like County Commissioner Bruce Matari, that was Norris's former campaign manager, he has a special deputization. The deputizations I think that are actually pulled are the special deputizations. It's a formality in the state of Idaho. If you want to go outside of your jurisdiction to enforce the law or to conduct an investigation, the sheriff, since he is the chief law enforcement officer of the county, has to give all the different police agencies inside, like Cooney County, permission in order to go and use their cross-deputizations in order to complete their investigations. Now, what's interesting about this is Norris, I have no idea why he is doing this. I have some speculation. Some people have said that he's doing it because he's mad that Coeur d'Alene charged the Lear management guys when he gave the orders to assault and batter and kidnap Teresa Bornpole and Gregory Johnson during the famous town hall event back in February. And the lead detective is now the chief of Rathdrum, so this might be retribution for that. But we need to ask Chief Moreland up in Spirit Lake. He was the first agency that I believe was retaliatory. Norris didn't like them and what they were doing. I think it was envy because those guys up there are former LAPD D3 detectives. They are the ones that they make movies and shows about. High speed. So
there's no other strategy. It's just I'm kind of envious that you guys might be more high speed. Well,
I think he's sending a message. I mean, again, speculation. He's doing several things. He's sending a message out there to all the other chiefs. Hey, if you cross me at all, I'm going to take your ability to conduct law enforcement activities outside of your jurisdiction. I'm going to keep you on a short leash. At a minimum, it looks retaliatory. Now, there are some who have speculated that the reason this is occurring is because these chiefs have been proactive in combating human trafficking. Those are comments. Nate Lewis made a comment with The Innocent. He asked the question, is this because Coeur d'Alene has been proactive? They were investigating the massage parlors in Coeur d'Alene. You know, the one that Angelo Brunson was having his genitals touched in, but he wasn't participating, but there were underage girls there and they're always trying to touch his penis. Coeur d'Alene has been proactive in these matters. So I don't know what the reason is, but we will probably find out sooner and later. Here's one last thing that I find really curious. All these different agencies seem to have come out at the same time. So unless there was a press release to me, this was leaked to key media people. And all you have to do is look around who is close to Bob Norris when it comes to alternative media. Like, I don't know, the, what is it, North Idaho News.
Yeah.
Take a look at who's been breaking the story and then see if there's a chance that he gave them a scoop on the inside.
I put a QR code up in the corner. That is Coeur d'Alene Press. I know everybody's got their opinions about it, but I mean, there's some the facts in there about what happened if you want more information on that one. Another thing that came out, that really was the most breaking news. Mm-hmm. Another thing that came out is some overdoses in Kootenai County Jail. 6 people incarcerated in the jail overdosed on fentanyl over the weekend, according to the sheriff's office. I put that QR code up in the corner if you want to go read that article for yourself. What's going on in Kootenai County Jail?
Well, we all want to know. And frankly, this is unacceptable at any level that contraband, especially drugs, can make it through. Now, some have said they were mailed in. Some have said that they were smuggled in. Kootenai County has paid handsomely for a full body scanner. They have the tools in order to stop this. But as I told you on the campaign trail, and many of you jailers, you know, because you came up and told me your stories, the jail has been majorly understaffed for the entirety of Bob Norris's tenure there at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Last year, they were over 30 deputies down. In fact, we were told by deputies how unsafe it was and that Kootenai County is one incident away from a DOJ consent decree. And remember that I was endorsed by a retired jail deputy, Hart. In fact, I think we probably still have his endorsement up on the idahosheriff.com. He worked in the jail. He knew exactly what was going on, and he lays it out quite well. So this is unacceptable, but ask yourself again, what has Bob Norris done good proactively in that jail in the past 5 years? It is still majorly understaffed, at a minimum 15 understaffed, and as much as 30, depending on who's running the numbers and how they're cooking the books. But it's completely unacceptable. And maybe Bob Norris should actually be running the jail and coming up with solutions rather than running to Cascadia Pizza and giving Toys for Tot events. Actually, do your damn job, Bob.
Or frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's having some frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Bob Norris has continually, though, pushed the line. As we've been showing you week after week, month after month, the unholy alliance Bob Norris has with key players in this community. We've told you about Davalu Cummings, who has her hands in everything. A couple weeks ago, we revealed through the audio that was leaked how she was advising Pastor Paul Van Oy. Remember, Davalu is a former Homeland Security special agent specializing in human trafficking. But she has her hands in all sorts of things, including her husband as well here in Kootenai County. But she works at the Union Gospel Mission. She volunteers there. She's been on the art committee in Hayden, Women's Republican Federated. She advises the sheriff. She advises the Regional Air Support Unit. She is heavily involved with... I'm gonna forget the name of it now.
Think of that. She's also started her own nonprofit, which we'll hear in that leaked audio. She says the name of it if you want to cross-reference it. She also serves on like women's, I don't want to say it's the official Bible study fellowship, but she's very much like, I don't know, I can't come up with another word other than, well, I'll say embedded herself, I guess. Infiltrated is a strong word, but very much embedded herself in church circles, Bible studies, those sorts of things.
She was part of the Kootenai Resiliency Group too, Kootenai County Resiliency Group, which, people preparing for worst case scenario. Since the sheriff has never done anything to get this county ready,
she just says she just wants to keep
she's
busy.
Involved. But she was. I had several people tell me that in one of those K-Surge meetings, they were talking about federal agents. This is during the Biden time, right? She was an Obama era agent, if she's truly retired and not still a contractor. But Davalu said that she would shoot between the eyes any federal agent that tried to take her gun. It sounds like to me that she was inciting people inside in order to rat them out to Homeland Security under Biden. So
possibly looking for people who would agree.
But we know that she's friends with Bob, and we've shown this a lot. Well, this past week, there was a hearing by some people that were presenting an event center they wanted to have on their private property. We all believe private property in Idaho is an important thing. So this family, the Mitchell family, purchased, 40 or so acres up south of Post Falls across the river, and wanted to take about 10 acres and turn it into a conditional seasonal wedding event center. Okay. So they were going to do things by the book. They brought in all of their experts and consultants to make certain that they were adhering to all zoning and planning and building codes, all of it. And at this hearing, where the hearing examiner was hearing those that were in favor and those against, well, once you know, something very curious happened. Let's go ahead and watch this video. We're going to play, 5 minutes, and then we're going to have a quick discussion. I'm going to leave you guys to consider for yourself what you think is going on. So let's go ahead and play this.
Yes, Mr. Examiner, Sheriff Robert Norris for the record. The Sheriff's Office would like to amend the letter that is dated on September the 19th with no concerns at this time to significant concerns at this time. Most of this has to do with evacuations and the increased fire risk that we continue to have here south of the river. We have recently had a series of events, fires, where evacuation was necessary. And it's not just evacuation for the duration of the fire. The actual evacuation and generally goes on, and there's nobody that's able to come in or out of the area for, depending on the size and the fuel that is available, for 7, 10, 14 days. So it's not just a 1 or 2 or 3 day event. These are long, sustained events. There's only 3 access points to be able to leave that area. And in the event that there was a significant fire, which we have had in that area, it would be very, very difficult to be able to evacuate as many people that live in that community now. So that's, we will be writing a letter to articulate those concerns, but the evacuations, which is the responsibility of the sheriff, I'm very, very concerned about the fire risk, the engraver beetle action that we see south of the river that increases that risk, and evacuations for that entire community.
So, do you have a final position as opposed,
Yes, we would.
Okay, let's go ahead and put it on pause real quick. Okay, so
this application.
Understand that this whole proposed event center, went through the Cooney County Sheriff's Office, and within a set amount of time, because the stats changed so much in Cooney County that his competent deputies signed off, because they're the ones that give him the go ahead whether to sign off or to reject these proposed things. He was in favor of it at first, but then several months later, all of a sudden he comes back around, decides, well, the fire danger is too great and we can't let adults be adults. And what if? Well, take a look at who the next person is that's bitching about this event center against personal property rights.
My name is Davalu Cummings, and my address is 86, even though it's a Coeur d'Alene address. And I just wanted to mention really quickly before I read this that we've heard a lot about Greens Ferry onto Riverview, but there's also Greens Ferry the other direction can end up on Highland Drive, and that's going to be affected. That's a direction between Greens Ferry and 95. So that is also going to be a course of travel that's affected. My husband and I own and reside on rural property in Kootenai County, approximately 1/2 mile uphill, straight line from the proposed event center. We oppose the approval of this permit. Increased tax burdens on homeowners resulting from wear of roads and increased public safety burden. Increased risk of crime, trespass, and impaired driving. Long-term commercial encroachment into rural neighborhoods resulting in reduced property values. The Mitchell Event Center is fundamentally not compatible with the surrounding community, and this permit should be denied.
Okay.
I additionally request an environmental impact.
Okay, so here you have the Fed that's coming in. She has. I saved you guys a lot because she used her whole 5 minutes up. Her husband, David Cummings, who is the volunteer pilot for the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, which we're going to talk about right after this, was represented by an attorney that was representing a big block of those opposed. But Davalu is against private property rights for others that have their own property, paying tax, doing things within the confines of what the county does or doesn't allow. She's against homeschooling families. Bob Norris apparently is against homeschooling families. And we're going to tell you why we think that Bob Norris reversed his decision. I did put a records request in. We're going to see the results of this records request as we continue to play just the end of this video. So go ahead and play it.
Study be conducted before this matter is advanced. Thank you.
So take a look right here. Let's pause that. Let's blow that up if we can. I want to show you guys. This is a map. Now I've redacted addresses, but anybody can find these if they really want to look. At the very bottom, you're going to see a red circle. That is the proposed event center. Again, temporary, seasonal, bringing in tents. They're going to bring in portable sanitation. They're not going to make any food there. It's a homeschooling family that is living out the American dream of purchasing their property, teaching their kids how to run a business. To the right, where you see the circle at the end of the blue line, is Davalu Cummings property. And to the left, where it says number 2, circled at the end of the blue road, is Bob Norris's personal property. Is it that they really think that there's an issue with fire evacuation at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office? Or is this more of a, hey, I don't want people operating on their property that they pay for, doing what they legally want to do, because I'm against personal property rights. It'll affect me somehow. Give me a break. It's only up to 200 people every once in a while. So we're going to play the rest of this. So I asked, because I was curious, did Bob Norris really sign off on this? How long ago? What's some of the history? And I did a records request, and here's what we find that's going to be interesting. If you can actually read it, we're going to play it. I'll explain it, and then we're going to jump out of this and get onto the helicopter. So is it still playing? Mm-hmm. Okay, give me a second. I'm not as good of an editor on video as Don is, so I probably made that one just a tad bit long.
No, we were going to do a still frame on it. There we go.
So I'm initially asking, hey, I want everything about the Mitchell Event Center, all documentations and correspondence. They respond that they're going to return my request per the regular time. I get a written response back, and what they find is that there's no records that exist. So the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office has no records on the Mitchell Event Center. So I sent them a link of Bob Norris just talking, and I said, well, that's funny because here he is talking about running this up the chain and changing it out. So what in the world's going on? And then I got a great response back from the stellar records folks over at Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Interesting. We're going to have to check into this more. So either Norris is doing dirty shit underneath the table and he's not doing things officially so that we can't see the records, or he's hiding stuff. And this has happened before. Bob Norris and his command staff, when I have presented records requests, they've obstructed, and sometimes I've had to go back in and legally threaten them to produce what they are legally obligated to provide. Do you like this transparency in the sheriff's office, or are you seeing again yet another example of you scratch my back, I'm going to scratch your back? Remember, these guys are tied at the hip. Davalu is an advisor of Bob Norris and the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office.
Even as we talked tonight about Davalu Cummings and Sheriff Bob Norris, who you just saw in that video, I also want to remind you that these people are tied in with a larger network that includes these religious leaders as well. And that's a direction that we're headed in tonight's program. So if you're hanging on for that, because we had talked about some audio that has come out that was provided to us, we will be getting to that here just in a few minutes. But we had these other important topics of discussion that really all tie together. And that's why it takes a little bit of investment in brain power to understand the other bits and pieces that are going on locally, and then how that network ties together.
So let's go ahead and without further ado, you guys already know my position on the helicopter. It's dying. They were unsuccessful after they came to the county and said, for 2 years, we're going to operate this helicopter. It's only going to cost you $10,000 a year. The donors are going to take care of the rest of it. And after 1 year, it failed miserably. In fact, it did not fly. It has not flown for 14 months. And yet they have been finagling their way to get it operational again. This is Mark Ellis, Lieutenant. You guys can go back and see the videos. Mark Ellis is now in desperation mode. They're offering to give the helicopter to the county search and rescue to offload this helicopter and start paying all of the insurance. Because, by the way, you guys know that we caught them. They were underinsured and they were also not registered correctly with the FAA. We're going to hear confirmation of that from a county commissioner. And yet here they are still cramming it down our throats. But it looks like 1 or 2 county commissioners maybe are giving some pushback. You guys need to go and watch the whole episode yourself. It's about 30 minutes. We're not going to watch it here. We're just going to give you some of the highlights that I find highly humorous. Let's go ahead and play those right now.
I'm looking at it as a commissioner. Okay? You're looking at stuff as a cop.
I am.
You're with the helicopter. So there's 2 different things. When the crap hits the fan, it's the commissioners that are going to take the heat. And the commissioners are the ones that make that's why we have county commissioners.
That's fine. I understand. You're just saying that you don't understand their need. And I'm telling you, the sheriff's office has said there is a need. And they're the ones that are actually executing law enforcement in this
Why
county.
does somebody give somebody a donation of a helicopter?
Because the community cares about.
Or they want to get out of it.
Where they want to get out
That's what I'm looking at. That's how I see it as a businessman. Somebody wants to get rid of some piece of garbage that they have, and so all of a sudden, great, this sucker took it.
That's not the way this is.
Listen
We
carefully.
would keep operating underneath the 501c3 and not make the donation agreement at all, except for FAA rules don't allow the sheriff's department to
Pause this.
operate the helicopter in the way that.
Okay. You just heard Commissioner Duncan admit that the FAA never allowed the operation of this volunteer helicopter in the capacity that the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office entered into the agreement with the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit. We told you this a year plus ago. Captain Mike Bauer, former captain at SEB at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, was one of our advisors, and he ran air bureaus. We had John Parman. We had guys that had oversaw these operations, and they said for years, for big California agencies, and they said, you guys do not know what the hell you're doing. Plus, we point out and prove that they had not adequate insurance. So here we finally have confirmation. I don't think Leslie necessarily meant to let this out. Maybe she did. I don't know. But the helicopter has never been, according to this, legitimate in its operations. And what this means is the helicopter program up until this point has been a massive liability exposure to the taxpayers of Kootenai County. Go ahead and keep playing.
Well, anyway,
That
you
they
got
see
my,
fit.
you got my answer.
Okay.
So the questions I want to understand is the potential liability and, how well our documentation is at this point in time by having counsel review it, just to make sure that we are not missing something and that, it needs to be looked at from a worst case scenario. And I'd also like to understand where the insurance company might try to bail out of this. And this is another area, right?
Correct. So isn't that the liability questions being covered?
Yes. Okay. Are you going to represent the county if something bad happens? Or
I
are
am
we
not
going to
gonna be
get
the representation.
That's right. So we need someone who knows what they're talking about, who's done this before, who's seen all these different situations to make sure that we don't have gaps in what we think is good, but may not be good.
And this is why Darren is working with outside counsel.
Yes.
Kind of my thoughts are, when you buy a car, do you buy the insurance before you buy the car?
Well, cars don't fall out of the sky. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you have insurance prior, then for 3 days you're automatically covered with it. When you buy a brand new car, you have 3 days to notify your insurance company.
So what else do we need to go forward? So next steps would be, like
Well,
I said,
the attorney.
donation agreement.
Yeah, the attorney looking at. I'd like someone to look at all of our documentation. Because again, I think that it's safe to say that we're taking on a liability that we don't have right now.
I just didn't want to go spend the money if there wasn't a second vote to move forward with this program.
How
Well,
much
how much
money?
money are we looking at?
Probably a couple thousand.
A couple $1,000s
Yeah, let's
just
go ahead
to
and stop
review
this.
the documentation.
I'm not going to play the rest of this for time, but we received, after I requested from the county, how much CUNY County has paid outside attorneys to review this disastrous program that they're trying to cram down the taxpayers' throats. They've already spent, I think it's close to $6,000+ and this whole program was never supposed to cost us a dime, and yet we're spending your tax dollars, for those of you that are having a hard time making ends meet. We are gushing money for no reason. This could be a complete episode all of its own. To save all of you and due to the other topic at hand, I'm going to go ahead and end it. But it looks like that the county commissioners, and I'm shocked that Bruce Matari is all of a sudden doing this whole, like he's come to his senses and he's pretending like, I'm just worried about what it's going to cost the county and all of our liability. So good on you, Special Deputy, if you finally pulled your head out of your ass and can finally figure out that this was a bad program from the beginning. But I've heard that you and Bob are quarreling, so maybe this is your way of getting back. Maybe his special deputization will go back next.
Well, that's what the one I was wondering about.
Yeah. So you guys need to keep them accountable. You guys can also watch all of these videos the same as I do on the CUNY County YouTube channel, and it's very enlightening. Some of you have been asking, what can we do? You start by watching the way the county is spending your money and what they're doing with the liability. See the temper tantrums of Bob Norris every time he does not get his way, and see the kind of the alliance that's within many of the elected officials. There are several of them that cover for each other. It's a tight group, and you can definitely tell those that are on the outside. So it's your guys' job to watch what's going on, talk amongst yourself, and do records requests. You need to ask the questions because they're not going to give them to you unless you ask.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you have a kid, you open up their first checking account and it's joint to yours as the parent.
Yeah.
If they're 15 or whatever. You don't open it up, put a big bunch of money in there, and then never look at it again like it's some big free-for-all. Like, you deposited the money, you're going to keep track of how they spend it. And that's in essence what it is when you don't even have to leave your house, or you can watch from your phone if you're driving in the car, and you can see these commissioner meetings and the dialogue that they're having and how that money is being spent.
And I'm back on this. Ellis, I didn't capture it again due to time. Ellis was an impetuous child. You have a lieutenant in the CUNY County Sheriff's Office lecturing the county commissioners, making complete straw man arguments, non sequitur bullshit things. He was extremely poor in his demeanor. And he's desperate because he's sitting on the nonprofit that owns that helicopter. And he's like, well, we just need to figure out if we're going to move forward, if we're just going to keep spinning our wheels. Well, maybe you shouldn't have done such a hapshod program to begin with. And by the way, we're checking the lies when they're trying to tell the county commissioners, well, it saved one person's life, so we're going to spend all this money on. And by the way, we've many times had to call Spokane County, and they're an hour and a half away. Well, we're going to find out if that's true, because if they don't have the records proving that there was truly an hour and a half delay, we're going to expose that like we do on everything else they say that's bogus.
The words ringing in my ears, if it saves one life. And then they've got this, $1 million, whatever it is, body scanner in the jail. And over the weekend, you got 6 people ODing on fentanyl.
Yeah.
But if it saves one life. All right, so probably no easy way to transition into this one. I'm just going to go for it. I know a lot of you are waiting for this segment. We do indeed have audio, over an hour and a half, actually, that was provided to us by a witness of account. We will not be sharing that full hour and a half plus conversation. There's quite a lot there. But what we have done is gone through and pulled some very important key points that then will be relevant to the conversation that we'll have. Share this feed to your page or profile as you're just joining us now, and we're getting into this segment. What this is a brand new whistleblower to us released this audio. She was a former member of the Alters Recovery Program and confronted Pastor Tim Remington. So that's the basis for it. In this conversation and some of these clips that you're going to hear, Remington, he minimizes the assault of a minor. shifts blame onto the victim, contradicts himself many times throughout the conversation, and justifies allowing known sex offenders around teenage girls. We're going to work through some of these clips, and then I know we're going to dialogue about them. Some of them are as short as even just a minute. So we want you to understand the pacing of that as you're watching and listening along with us. And as Dad mentioned earlier, this is a sensitive content warning. So for any of you who may have kids in the car or in the room with you, you may want to have them go do something else right now.
And we are not making this available for download right now, correct?
We are not. Yeah. There are some names of minors in this that are being talked about, which have been redacted. I don't know that we will see in terms of from our source and our witness what is necessary, ultimately, so that justice can prevail. And if we have a tool that will eventually lead to that, we'll release things as necessary. But for now, I think this is a good starting point and relevant to the conversation tonight.
I would also say that when you're listening to this, some of you are saying to us in messages, what's going to be the final smoking gun that takes it all down? You have to understand that this is a very slow process. It has taken many years to root itself into this community. We're talking about politics. We're talking about religion. And it's going to take a very long time for it to be rooted out. And it's going to take a lot of hard work. That means we're going to have dumps that have a lot of information. There's going to be times where it's going to be a little less prominent. But when you're looking at all this and you're listening, don't be looking for the really, really bad soundbite that's going to end it all, like the Epstein list. Instead, those of you that are reasonable, of reasonable mind, listen to what these men of faith, whether it was Paul Van Noy and all of his arrogance and the things that he has continued to say, or whether it is Tim Remington. These are supposed to be your shepherds, and you need to pay attention to what they're saying, how they're saying it, and ask yourself, with your faith, are you okay with that? And if you're okay with that, I would challenge you to check yourself. Because like I said on the campaign trail for many, many years, it seems like many years. I'd say that many years, many months.
I made that mistake last week. Yeah.
You know, when you talk about these things, and now I lost my train of thought because I'm that way. But the bottom line is that you don't want people. I know it was a calling. You're in certain positions, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's clergy, teachers, etc. It is a calling. You don't do it because you want to get rich. You don't do it because you want to become famous. You do it because inside you, you've been given a gift, a calling to serve people. And it is self-sacrificial. I'm going to say this again, self-sacrificial. Nobody that is providing the special care that you've been entrusted with should ever be getting rich, nor should they be doing things that are outside of the box. No justifications, zero tolerance. So let's go ahead and play this and let's hear what the pastor has to say in his own words.
Well, we will listen first and we'll break it down right afterwards.
I'm also mad that I was never made aware that Tommy and Darren were sex offenders. I believed that this was the safest place on earth. And had I known that you had child molesters and child rapists on your staff in any position, I never would have stepped foot in here. And if my 14-year-old niece went through a program and then was groomed and raped by an almost 30-year-old man, and the pastor of the church said, well, she was flirting with him, I'd burn this place to the ground with everybody in it.
Who she's referring to is, we'll pull it up on our slide. You have this this guy. We're going to go to the third page. This guy right here, Josh Ash, almost 30 years old, who groomed a 15-year-old girl who was in the Alters Ranch program. she had gone through it, is my understanding, and Josh probably had gone through it. His mother was going through it, as we've been told, at the same time. And Josh would come to visit his mother, who's going through the ranch program. It's run by the Altar Church. And they started a relationship. The Coeur d'Alene Press goes on to talk.
Explain that again, as far as who started a relationship. You had a
28-year-old Josh, who was not inside the program, but previously had been in the program, from my understanding, was going to visit his mother, who was going through the program. And his mother was roommates with another girl, a minor, at the same time going through the program.
A 15-year-old.
15-year-old going through a program with adults, a minor with adults. And a relationship is struck up. And Josh, as the Coeur d'Alene Press reported, if I can get back and get my glasses on here. Coeur d'Alene man charged with rape and sexual abuse. Joshua Ash, 28, of Coeur d'Alene, is in jail on a $100,000 bail after he allegedly raped a minor. Ash is charged with rape and sexual abuse of a child under the age of 16, both felonies. Idaho law defines rape in part as penetration where the victim is under the age of 16, the perpetrator is 18 or older, and the two are not lawfully married. Coeur d'Alene police began an investigation last week after a probation officer discovered a 15-year-old girl hiding in Ash's bedroom closet, according to court documents. The teen told investigators that she met Ash around 2 years ago, and they went through the substance abuse treatment program together through the Altar Church in Coeur d'Alene. She said they had a sexual relationship. When police were interviewing the teen, Ash reportedly sent her a text message that said, "I love you." We know that he was later convicted, and this was back in October of 23. This is just one of the sick individuals that was running around the Altar Church and allowed to be around vulnerable minors.
All right, we'll move on to our next and then discuss.
So the Maynards, which is different than everybody thinks. I won't get into that. He did do something wrong, but not necessarily what everybody thinks.
Because which time, his original charge?
No, his original charge, him and Tommy both
Yeah.
were involved in that, and both of them repented, got saved, and so according to Scripture, all of those things, once that's behind you, then just like drug addiction, I'm not going to bring somebody's old stuff up. That's just all there is to it.
Forced penetration on a minor is a pretty heavy charge to just say, well, you're forgiven. I mean,
yeah, except again, I know all of, I don't have the right to be able to go into each one of those stories, but I know what they were.
Okay, we're going to go to the first page of the slide. We're going to show you who they're talking about. So, yet another case. This guy by the name of Darren Maynard, 57, of Coeur d'Alene, was charged in July with 3 counts of sexual abuse of a child and 1 count of lewd conduct with a minor under the age of 16, all felonies. Current records show that Maynard has accepted the state's offer to dismiss the lewd conduct charges, which carries a maximum life sentence, and as well as 2 of the 3 counts of sexual abuse in exchange for Maynard's guilty plea. So he did far greater things, but in lieu of going to trial, he took a plea deal. The remaining sexual abuse charge is punishable by up to 25 years in prison. In July, Coeur d'Alene police responded to Maynard's residence after a girl reported that Maynard had molested her while she stayed over at the home. The girl told police that Maynard had touched her inappropriately multiple times. When questioned by investigators, Maynard denied any inappropriate physical contact. He also said that he had been at work away from the home when the alleged abuse occurred, according to court records. Other household members told police that wasn't true. Police initially cited Maynard with sexual battery, a misdemeanor, but upgraded charges after further investigation. Maynard turned himself in. He has remained in jail on $500,000 bail since July. In September, a judge denied Maynard's request to have his bond reduced. Now, here is where it gets even worse. And we're going to go on some of the backstory, but you heard Pastor Tim talking about Tommy. And once they've confessed, and there's nothing more that he can do, it's done, and he can't get into more of the details. Tommy is Darren's wife. This is going to blow your mind. This is not the first time Maynard has been accused of sexually abusing a minor. In 2012, Maynard and his wife, Tommy, were accused of sexually assaulting a teen girl. The couple ultimately pled guilty to the amended charges of felony injury to a child. They were both sentenced in 2013 to 8 years in prison. With those sentences suspended, the pair served 60 days of jail time each and were both placed on supervised probation for 5 years. The story that we've been told is this, and many of you listening probably already know this story. But Maynard, let's go ahead and show Maynard back up there. Look at this guy. This guy, 2013, convicted along with his wife for sexual assault against a minor. What does the altar church do? The altar church, as we understand it, and Tim confirms this, he was allowed to be a security guard at the church, and the girl that he molested several years later came to the church because she was looking for her parents who were going through the ranch program. She saw a guy that was in his official uniform or whatever variation of I'm a person of authority might be. And he groomed her. He told his kids about her, said that she goes to your same school, invite her over to the house, and they invited her over, and that's when he began to molest her. So ask yourself again, what in the hell is the altar church doing, allowing convicted child sex offenders to roam anywhere around the altar church, to be around other children? Let's go back and listen to that again, what Tim just said. I want to listen. It's a short clip. With all this now that you know, listen again what Tim says.
The Maynards, which is different than everybody thinks. I won't get into that. He did do something wrong, but not necessarily what everybody thinks.
Because which time, his original charge?
No, his original charge, him and Tommy both.
Yeah.
Were involved in that, and both of them repented, got saved, and so according to Scripture, all of those things, once that's behind you, then just like drug addiction, I'm not going to bring somebody's old stuff up. That's just all there is to it.
Forced penetration on a minor is a pretty heavy charge to just say, well, you're forgiven. I mean,
yeah, except again, I know I don't have the right to be able to go into each one of those stories, but I know what they were.
So you don't have the right to go into each one of those stories, but you have the right to put a known sex offender in any kind of position of volunteer
repented.
Or authority in your church, exposing them to children. So I want you to understand that tone in the first clip for the gal who's our witness who came to us with this, and we have spoken with her at length also personally. In that first clip, you heard the tone that if she had realized who was there, she makes a comment.
She'd burn the whole place down.
She'd burn the place down. I need you to understand something when a person is exhibiting what would otherwise be the wrath of God, that comment from her was made in that tone. And I don't want that to get lost, because this is the sort of thing people will derail. Mm-hmm. Well, there's all this bad that Remington's doing, but how dare she say she would, So
BZ, who, by the way, is going to be on our show next week, BZ, the Bobcat Saloon. We'll give a promo for this. We're going to talk about flock cameras. He brings up a great point. Career law enforcement officer, mentor friend of mine. He says, I did the search in 10 seconds. Why didn't this man, speaking about, let's pull that quote up that he said his
You want it
comment.
up on the screen?
I also found out, yeah. I also found the Idaho Court Odyssey portal for court records and the Idaho Department of Correction database for incarcerated people. You're exactly right. I was law enforcement, as you know, for 12 years, active law enforcement. I also, at the same time, was running a volunteer church security team for a large megachurch in the Spokane Valley. We frequently had men that came through, and I was always scanning the sex offender registries, and we found them all the time and told them, you're not allowed to come here. Even though the pastor was just like Tim. Well, you know, they're changed. And no, if you violate a child and you are convicted, well, I won't even just say if you're convicted. If you violate a child, especially if you've been convicted, you have no place in a local church with families. Go to your own, all men.
Yes. Ever.
If you're, but I can't believe the amount of bullshit coming out of these pastors. Are they really that stupid? I don't think they are.
No.
I absolutely don't think they are. Let's go ahead and keep listening.
When you do that, that's rape. Because you don't have the right to say yes. But I know tons of minors, boy do I, that are like grown-ups. And they act like grown-ups, they stage themselves as grown-ups, get themselves in trouble as grown-ups, and then boom, all of a sudden turns around on the grown-ups because they, obviously she's a minor. She was 5 months from 18, but still.
Who was? Oh, the Tommy and Darren's.
Yeah. Yep.
So you got Remington there. He keeps hinting that the minor's behavior makes the adult's actions more understandable. I mean, that's what he's doing.
Well, you know, I mean, hey, if the business keeps their cash drawer open and it's right there for me to see it, you know, I mean, it's tempting me. It's bad on the store owner to keep their cash where I can see it and tempt me, you know, because I mean, boy, wow, it turns around on them. What utter bullshit.
Well, and this justification about, and really, as a female listening to this and the way it's being presented, and you're going to hear it come up more often from, and I'm only calling him Pastor Tim Remington so that you here in the community make the association and know who we're talking about. No pastor in my book. The blaming of, you know, as somebody who's almost legal. I mean, it is actually, it is extremely disturbing how often that comes up and how you watch him play salad around his words to really, at least minimizing it, if not covering for who knows what. On to the next. We do understand these are out of context of the full hour and a half plus conversation that our witness, who had formerly been in that recovery program at Tim Remington, the Altar Church Ranch. And so she was quite experienced, had been around to the point where she was mentoring other newcomers as they were new into the program, and had quite a firsthand knowledge.
Front row seat.
There you go.
Front row seat.
So just recenter that. And that's why we're exposing clips of this and then talking around it to fill in some of those blanks.
That's what I'm saying. It's always go after the parents. The parents are pieces of crap, would have never had to come through the ranch in the first place. So that is where the Lord put you in her life, put everybody else in her life. Not, and then she's surrounded as a minor around all of these adults who are allowing her to come into this, make these adult choices, like have sex with adults and use drugs with adults. If you want to have minors come through, then you need to keep them separated from everybody else. This is not okay that this is all being intermingled. I feel like I lost my place right there.
Okay, there's only 2 people that had anything to do with that. Her mom and Trina. Period. I had 0 to do with that. I fought them on it.
Great questions. Now, when you look at the Good Samaritan organization that Tim Remington runs and the ranch programs, which is for men and women, those that are attempting to recover from substance abuse and other addictions, people will come to this on their own. Some will come because the court's saying you gotta. But I've never heard of anybody mixing children, minors, with adults in any program. That is never appropriate when you're talking about people that are working through addiction recovery. Who is watching what's going on at the ranch? What oversight is there that is allowing this conduct to occur? And some of the other questions, because we're going to show you in a little while how many properties Tim Remington owns, where they're located at. But we have to ask who these people are running around with. We've told you recently, Pastor John Padula, that works with Pastor Tim, also runs a home. He has bragged often, including to me, that he, a former felon, a really bad dude that found Jesus and, changed his ways, attempting to do the right thing, frequently hunts with Judge Randall and Judge Barry McHugh right here in Cooney County. Think about that. And recently went bear hunting with Sheriff Bob Norris. The same sheriff who continually says no human trafficking takes place in Cooney County. But what is human trafficking? It is not just grabbing somebody and taking them out of the area to force them into slave sex. Anybody that is a victim sex worker is trafficked when people buy them or they take advantage and use them. What's going on between the altar and candlelight and other churches, which are going to be exposed as well? These aren't just the two that are part of what's going on. Let's play the next.
I know because I don't know how much authority you guys have, especially concerning a minor, but...
We don't have any.
But I do know this was a minor. She went through the program, and Darren was going up there dropping stuff off, like all the time. He's a sex offender. And went through the ranch the same time. So there was 2 minors in there, and Darren is a child molester, and he was going up to the ranch to visit his daughter. Why was that ever allowed? And his daughter, when she went through the ranch, all the guys were... Tyler told me we're talking about they couldn't wait till she turns 18 and blah, blah, blah. It's not safe enough here for female or male, like minors, to come through. You don't have that figured out yet, and you need to change something. Because they're all being put in danger by being thrown to the wolves with this group of adult, who knows what, like anyone can say, oh, I got saved and blah, blah, blah. Well, before I was saved, I didn't molest any kids. And even after somebody is saved, that's between them and Jesus. If there's a risk that they're going to molest my child, I don't feel like there should be grace for that. If they have to register and let their neighbors know that they're a pedophile, then I want to know. And I feel like it should be allowed to say, hey, you know what? We've got a 14, 15-year-old girl up there. So sorry, Darren, you're just going to have to visit your daughter when she gets out. These are the things. There's too much that's slipping through the cracks. And if you aren't aware of some of it, then get aware of it.
He would still be allowed to, no matter what, he would still be allowed to, if his daughter's there, as long as there's
Why can't
accountability.
you say no? Why can't you just say, I'm not comfortable?
I'm not going to tell him he can't see his daughter.
He's a child molester. Why wouldn't you?
Why is Tim so hard set on protecting a guy and saying, well, I'm not going to keep him from his daughter who's going through the program? Dude, you screwed the pooch. You don't get a do-over. It's one and done. One and done. And I disagree with the lady that's speaking. She should not know and be informed because guess what? They should never be there in the first place.
There you go.
You got anything to add?
Oh, you hear Remington repeatedly, even the times that it seems like his responses are softball. At bare minimum, he refuses to set boundaries when something is a safety risk. I mean, just like a safety risk. These are known abusers, and he starts to say, he still has a right. You could quiet.
His right
it's gonna be
trumps
hard to hear.
the other's right to be safe.
He has a right to see his daughter, and he started to say, as long as there's accountability. It trailed off right there. So, okay, do you have staff members then that are, what do you call it if you have supervised visitation, like through the court system? So in that case, at bare minimum, do you have somebody supervising visits?
And he's
or
claiming
like
that he has, I haven't checked the validity of this, but he has limited guardianship of minors when they go through the program. You and I went through a guardianship process.
Yeah.
And it was really freaking difficult.
Yep.
I can't even imagine what a temporary guardianship would be like, but I don't know, maybe because these guys sounds like friends with judges.
They just push
in
it
town
through.
And the sheriff.
You don't have to sit before the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare Committee and get,
Like what's her name?
Yeah.
Mel
McGinnis.
Mel McGinnis, yeah.
Yeah. All right, on to the next.
There's a lot on it, but let me tell you something. When you mention the word molestation or rape or child molester, okay, we have from cougars to men that are over the age of 18. If I were to ask how many of them have been with somebody under the age of 18, or how many women have been with under the age of 18, who's going to deal with those people, and how many do you think would have to raise their hand and say, I'm guilty?
Hopefully not that many. That's not having sex with kids isn't as normalized as you're making it sound. An 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, or a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a little girl, a 15-year-old girl, and a 30-year-old man, or Darren and an 11-year-old that he's trying to, I don't even know what happened in that.
How old's Josh?
He's 30.
Yeah, you got a lot going on in there. You've got Pastor Tim Remington ramping up to whole story when he knows that this gal, again, she's been through the program. It was a couple of years in the making for her to finally approach him because she had so much anger toward other abuses that she knew were happening it more recently than when she had been in the program. And so she felt the right thing to do. She knew she needed to approach him to force accountability. And one of the things he spent a whole time ramping up was minimizing, you've got cougars, you got cougars who prey on younger guys. Again, not relevant to the conversation at hand or the concern
Well,
that she was bringing forward.
He's flat out justifying.
Big time. Because the concern that she was bringing forward was a 30-year-old man with a 15-year-old girl in the program. That's the center of the conversation that she's trying to have. And he's going everywhere but there. And so when and by telling these stories about you got cougars and and he's naming off all these other scenarios or women who are like 5 months from being 18. So, I guess what's the problem? Whatever.
Well, it's a big problem when the dude's twice their age and it's still illegal.
So she, this very strong young woman who was going toe to toe there with Pastor Remington, she did not let that get lost in what he was trying to do. But he continues to try to treat abuse as commonplace rather than being criminal.
Look, he's also leading it to be subjective. And those of you who believe in absolute truth know that we don't believe in relative morality. The truth is the truth, and it transcends space and time because we didn't make the rules. We're not living 2,000 years ago when it was common for young girls to get married. The laws of this country, which Tim Remington and everybody else in Kootenai County in the United States has to adhere to, are very specific about what child abuse and sex assault against minors is and what it is not. So his attempt to, rationalize it and well, it's all according to how relative it is. Because could you read between the lines? The Cougars, the young guys love it when the Cougars come after them. Look, I have young men when they were teenagers. If I had found a 30 or 40-year-old woman hitting or sexually taking advantage of one of my boys, there'd be hell to pay.
There's one more snippet there at the end. Again, easy to miss because it trails off. But when the witness to these events, the voice you hear in the video that's questioning Tim Remington, he tells all these stories. She recenters it and says, we are talking about a 30-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. Tim goes on to say, well, how old? He says, well, how old is, what's this one?
Jeremy.
I didn't want to get the name
excuse me,
Josh
Ash, yeah.
So he's like, well, how old is Josh? Again, like you have a heinous thing taking place, and instead of any accountability for it, he's got to keep moving the goalpost. So he says, well, how old was Josh? And they say, well, he's 30. And he's like, well, okay, so when that, essentially what he's saying is, but when this happened, when he was with the 15-year-old, how old was he?
He was almost double her age.
Well, because it was more important for him to split hairs that the guy was 28 at the time, but then 30 years old at the time this conversation was actually happening. All right, on to the next.
I have one complaint from any girl that's ever been in the program and that anything happened to them. Not while they're in the program.
No, but I have had countless reports of women that have gone through the program that have come out and said that they were traumatized or that they, felt super uncomfortable because there's such a heavy emphasis on their sex lives.
Their sex lives?
Yes, because they're asked intimate questions about their sex lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes everybody uncomfortable. It shouldn't be coming from you. It should be between a woman and a woman. That should never come from a man to a woman. It's none of your business. And it makes
then you need to make up your mind if it's my business or not.
Women that come through the program, sure, if you want to ask them those types of questions, fine, but you shouldn't be asking it. A man shouldn't be asking a woman any of those types of questions, and I feel like there's a huge misogynistic tone, and women are not raised up.
I don't even ask them the questions. It's a piece of paper they fill out.
You asked me, alone in your office, when I was about to graduate the program.
Caught in the lie. Just got caught in the lie.
In her interview.
I have asked them. Don't get me wrong. I've asked them, but that's because I want to know what you're saying two things. One, if I'm going to help them.
I'm talking about two different.
He paused. I mean, he quickly changed the subject after admitting that she's right. We've been told that Tim, specifically the pastor, asks the women residents upon completion explicit details about their sex lives.
When you say we've been told, it is that we
First-hand
spoke
witness.
with the first-hand witness, and yeah.
And I look, I've been involved in lots of church things over the years, even church counseling, both as a counselor, church counselor, and a counselee. I've never heard of a pastor wanting to know the dirty details.
And because we have a first-hand witness who we sat down with and spoke at length, highly credible, when he says dirty details, they are about as
explicit as you can ask.
Be. Yep.
Yeah.
Arrested in the church parking lot. Man, oh man, that's horrible.
Did you not know about it? Because I'm pretty sure you already knew about it at that point, and you.
I didn't know about it here. Nope. January 13th. I was in.
That was after he was arrested. I know that you were in California,
yes.
But nobody told you he was arrested 2 days prior to that, or 3 days prior to that text message?
No.
Part of the problem in that one, and again, the context surrounding the conversation with the witness, is that there is no way that Tim Remington could not have known. Can you fill in the blanks a little bit about what they were talking about with the arrest of, I don't know if it was...
It was Josh. It was Josh Ash.
So,
yeah.
so
Josh Ash,
yeah.
According to the article, because this is what we're going on Coeur d'Alene
Yes,
Press,
yeah.
Coeur d'Alene police contacted him, and they were supposed to go to his house to, I think, turn himself in, as I recall. And instead, he was at the church doing his good, godly deeds, being one of the bros. And Coeur d'Alene PD hooked him right there in the parking lot the way it should have been.
Yeah. So to clarify, you've got Pastor Tim Remington, who knows this guy quite well. And even he claims to be, he was out of town or whatever. So he had no idea that arrest took place. As if you got the guy who's the head of your church organization, the guy at the helm, the lead pastor who leads these recovery organizations. But yet what he's sacrificing, supposedly, according to his account, is if he's out of town, he doesn't know some very serious things that have taken place in his parking lot. Mm-hmm. So I could guarantee the gal in having that meeting with him didn't buy it for a second, and that's why she was pushing him on that question. And what you need to understand when you compare it to the rest of the conversation, or you hear that in its entirety, is that Tim Remington cannot maintain a consistent story about what he knew and when he knew it, and he's constantly evading.
How many more do you want to do? Do you want to do?
I think I just have two more.
Let's continue.
Maybe just one more. I don't know.
Arrested in the church parking.
Move on to the next one.
Good idea to invest in education with your staff.
Okay.
And the male facilitators are like always predators as soon as the new graduates. So I always get really upset when the girl is called, a Jezebel, or sort of blamed for it, when the dude is a mentor or a facilitator. It's an abuse of power. So
you must have a particular person in mind when you say that.
Every single male facilitator when I graduated messaging me on Facebook, or when you tried to set me up with Ryan Moore before I even went to court. That was a massive abuse of power, in my opinion.
I know. I tried to set you up with Ryan Moore?
Yes. You gave Ryan permission to go to the mentor home when I was in there. He told me himself that he asked you because he wanted to talk to me, and you said that was fine. Maybe you weren't completely aware of what his intentions truly were.
Why was he going to the mentor home? Wait, where were you?
I was in the mentor home. This was when I had just gotten out of the program. I had just gotten out. I had not even gotten.
I'm going to stop that one there, because you pretty much get the sense of it, that what she's bringing forward to Tim Remington is you actively, I had barely been out of the program, and you were actively trying to play matchmaker or set me up with another newly recovering addict. Mm-hmm. She was not interested in it. It became very apparent to her. She goes through several accounts. It is, her story is so specific, and there was enough back and forth that for Tim to sit there at that point and pretend he ends that in that clip. He ends with saying, I don't remember that. Mm-hmm. Maybe that guy Ryan, maybe he was trying to get me to do that, but I don't remember that. But she had said that Remington and his wife also invited her over for dinner at their house. You don't have that much of an exchange in this specific that he's pushing toward that. So I'm curious your thoughts on a pastor using his power to match recovering addicts and
I'll tell you what it looks like to me. Let me be blunt. I'm going to be the guy that says what everybody else is thinking. They're running folks that have substance abuse and other addictive problems, men and women, through the program. And then they're attempting to be matchmakers. What it sounds like to me is that you have a mill that's running through there. And some of the other stories that we've been told, it appears that, and you guys tell me, if you go to the altar and you know something else, tell me. But it is a common theme for these vulnerable, broken women to come out of the program because they do, first of all, I think it's 90 days. That's a secluded ranch, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. And then they can do a more intensive outpatient
like 120
recovery
days. Mm-hmm.
Where, they go to the church all the time. They're still working in the community and doing things in order to get well. But it looks like that they're taking these vulnerable women and men in the congregation, not necessarily men that are those that have gone through the program, but others, some married, some not, that end up finding these vulnerable girls and having sex with them. And then it's all found out. It's the Jezebel girl, the broken, vulnerable women that are blamed. It looks like to me that the altar is running a mill of, what do we call that? Yeah. You guys fill in the blanks. And by the way, this isn't the only story that we have. I mean, the hard part is not violating the other people that still don't want us to come public yet because we know far too much about what's going on. And I'm going to remind you guys, Tim Remington and John Padula flat out lied during the campaign. And we're going to show the email for all of you to see when we gave them the chance at the end of the year, right before the election, to retract it and told them we have the evidence to prove that they were actively lying about me and my character. They chose not to. And in retrospect, similar with Paul, I never went and asked any of these people for an endorsement. In fact, John Padula came to me at my very first event and wanted to strike a friendship. I prayed with him a time or two in his office. He hated Norris. Now I'm looking at this in retrospect and seeing how John told me that I was I had no integrity because I dared to leak part of the audio of Tim lying. Why are these guys continually attempting to suppress Dan Wilson and they get caught?
I've got one more clip. It's super short, but this is just, I got to do it.
The women taking advantage of the men as adults. Boy, I see that all the time. Men get in trouble all the time, but women need a good spanking too. So, but no woman, no minor.
He says women need a good spanking too. So he wanted to turn it back on when specifically, again, you have somebody in his office confronting about putting female minors at risk in known circles and spheres and access with convicted sex offenders having access to them. That is what this conversation is. And he's in the end there turning it back around to, some women need spankings.
I got to ask who in the hell Tim Remington is. Where did this 2-bit preacher like Paul Van Noy come from? I believe he came from California. The very first time I went to his church and we were looking for a home in Cooney County, I saw him tickling the ivories. That's how he started the church service, tickling the ivories. And I thought to myself, this is a freaking modern day Cooney County version of Jimmy Swaggart. Now, I thought Tim was a jovial guy. He was on the rating and vetting committee that I was subjected to.
Actually, you had
by the way, he never actually made it to my interview, but we have him on that recording where, he lied and claimed that I cussed him out, which never happened. John Padula immediately took the gossip and started running his mouth to people and sliming me. These guys, man, they are showmen and a half. And by the way, let's talk about some other things that are going on before we show these other videos. We talked about those that have been assaulted. I'm not going to say the name. Some of you have already said it in the comments, but there was 2 girls who were also molested in that congregation by residents of these programs. I don't know which program it was. But you have a dad leaving his kids to be exposed to, well, they've said the sinner's prayer, they've confessed it, no issue. And this person that allowed this to happen to their children is looking for a place of power in Kootenai County. And from what we have heard firsthand, allowing these folks going through recovery to live in one part of his house without any kind of separation between the residents and his own family.
And he has young girls.
Look, I'm going to tell you, guys, you're not that stupid. You just aren't. Something else is going on. And you can all pound freaking sand if you want to come in and say, well, you're just saying all these things to get everybody riled up. You have no evidence. You're just full of what's the one that Horseface always says?
Oh, conjecture.
Yeah.
Wild
conjecture. No, I actually pay attention like many of you, but some of you have been hesitant to say what you observe. Let's start all saying what really is going on. It's abhorrent behavior. It's dereliction of duty to protect your own kids and those in your care. Now, we're going to go a little bit more on who exactly this ministry is. And I don't know if I labeled my video correctly.
That's all right. But this ends up being fascinating because once you hear him in his own voice and get a little bit of that background as to the recovery program and hearing what he's doing and evading and twisting and lying and all of that, this is fascinating. Then when you say, okay, so a guy like Dan Wilson's like, okay, so who is Tim Remington really? Who is this guy? And I think that's the
somebody says that
I
think Robin Keevy Cook says he's from here. I went to high school with him. So I don't know. I thought that Tim had at some point come from California. Maybe didn't.
Well, yeah, you can come back in the comments because that might have been a comment on one of the other offenders or some other name in there. But I do have a video labeled if you're ready
which
for
one
it.
is it?
It just says Remington Trust.
Yeah, let's actually look at the other one first. Let's look at the other one first. And let's take a trip to see exactly what this Good Samaritan that's run out of
website. Okay.
Yeah. So this is the website for Good Samaritan that is the parent of the ranch. Some of this is going to be kind of boring. I just wanted to give people an idea because I know that it's harder for us to pull the website up.
Well, when you say, so fill in blanks because we've got a lot of people just joining us. So when you say Good Samaritan, Good
Samaritan is the nonprofit run by the Altar Church or Tim Remington. I still don't know the ownership, and this is where they charge $3,500 for 90 days per person to go through this serious outpatient treatment.
And it's kind of not marketed, for lack of a better word, to addicts as an alternative to a government-funded program, as this being a faith-based program.
No pharmaceuticals are allowed. So if you have any kind of doctor-prescribed medication,
that's what we've heard.
We've been told that's not allowed. Well, I actually looked at their own website and policies.
Okay. Oh,
so
okay. All right.
Pretty intense. Let's go ahead and get rid of this here.
Okay.
You guys can go look at it yourself, listen to the videos, see the propaganda. But this is a nonprofit, 501c3. Here. What is that? What is that usually when we talk about churches and 501c3s? What is that? A religion business? Mm-hmm. So here's why the next part of what we're going to show you is very curious to me. I'm not going to be able to do you all the justice, but this is coming. We're going to dive into this much deeper, but we're going to show you how many properties in Kootenai County are owned by the Tim Remington and his wife Trust, land up above Wolf Lodge, where they're having all these sites for the ranch. So I'm wondering if the nonprofit, look, there's millions of dollars worth of property, according to the tax assessor evaluation, which is always less than what actual market value is. Let's go ahead and take a look at these right now, and you guys can see how many of these pieces of property that Tim Remington owns. I think there's something like 8. They range everywhere from an acre to 5 acres. And you know what's fascinating here is where they're located. Most of them are located above Wolf Lodge, kind of when you come around the bend there, going into that last stretch. Mm-hmm. And I was reminded there was another organization several years ago that wanted to open up another recovery institution.
Right.
Not too far from there. And Bob Norris did an about turn after he had already approved it and then said, "No, you can't do it." The developers ended up losing out. And I'm pretty positive
lost money.
It's in very close proximity to this property. And Brent Reagan, by the way.
Was there, I didn't know how much more.
No, I mean, these are just, quick flybys. Businesses. So who's paying the $3,500? It's a nonprofit. Where's the money going? Well, it's going to support the ministry, right? And these guys and women have to do manual labor, free labor, as part of their recovery. Where's that money going, and how does a street preacher end up being able to afford all of these properties? Oh, I know. Donations, right? For the Lord. They're not in a church entity's name. They are personally owned by the Tim, and I can't think of his wife's name right now.
Oh, plenty
Cindy?
of people.
Maybe.
Plenty of people will know.
Their trust. You can go look it up. Look it up at the Coon County Assessor's Office. So I suspect that what's going on, as we are hearing more and more of these stories, that this is actually a business model for them.
It's hard to hear him say, because he does in the full audio recording when being confronted with lack of education for those addicts going through the program, lack of oversight for their safety, lack of intervention when you're, or having the ability to separate minors from adults, males from females, that sort of thing. You hear Tim covering for that by saying, basically going into a victim role himself and saying, we just can't afford there's not money to facilitate all this. Where? How? Mm-hmm. How would we? Mm-hmm. And then I guess to then put that side by side with a guy who's got 8 properties and who knows what else.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, pastors seem to get gifted a lot of crap. So, some of these could be gifted, but when you look back, a lot of them are around the 2011, 2012, 2013 range as far as when they were sold.
So a lot of people died.
In some cases, he sold them from himself, or rather he turned it over from a personal ownership to a family trust, right? So, that it didn't even really transfer from true ownership, right? It's just a little covering. Let's go ahead and look at some of these comments. We had a lot of great comments tonight. Let's see what you guys have to say. You want to throw some up? We'll address them.
I'll do my best. And we'll see. Some of these are back from toward the beginning of the program, so we'll do our best to make them relevant to the conversation right now. Jared says, I've known Tim Remington for 25 plus years, many accusations. However, he was always polite and good to me. How many people get shot 9 times? Unbelievable. Obviously, the bullet didn't hit the bone.
Yeah, it is definitely a miracle by all accounts.
I think he was shot. I thought it was 6 times.
6 times by a 45, apparently hollow points. So I bet he doesn't feel good on rainy days.
Yeah, I think he's got water on the knee or something. Hi, Dan and Donna. Thank you for your hard work. Please talk to John Wedger, former Metropolitan Police detective who's put his life on the line to expose the truth about child abuse. He could help you. Oh,
Thanks for that.
Dan's making a note of that now, and we will reach out. Brett, Jesus was perfect, and they spit on him. They beat him and accused him of things he did not do. These folks are helping people that need help and are at rock bottom. God is love.
Okay, Brett. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by they're helping people? What is your ability to determine if somebody is truly being helped? Is it all anecdotal? Is it what is the definition of recovery versus repeat with even the industry? Look, good things can come out of bad things. That's not, 2 things can be true at the same time, but that doesn't mean that you continue to allow bad things to happen because some good things are occurring.
Well, and that is a common thread also with Paul Van Oy, where people have surrounded him and somewhat amidst current accusations and stuff that's unfolding there. And I assure you, there are still things unfolding in that situation, even though a lot of you have said, hey, it's gotten pretty quiet, so is all that just going to go away? It's not going to go away. But you've got people surrounding him saying, look, I'll side with him any day of the week because he's done so much good.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Wilson had some contrary things to say in reaction toward that. Shane's been very vocal and active throughout this program, getting his name up here on the board. You're just mad you didn't have your own chopper cowboy Oprah.
Well, I mean, you can lie however many times you want to. It doesn't change. You can label however you want to. It doesn't change the fact. I know that I'm solid. The helicopter is an absolute abysmal failure and a liability. And the reason I know that is because I actually have run a successful, not one, but two successful companies for almost 30 years. And I don't get any government handouts, never taken one government dime. So, I mean, I think I'm more than qualified to come in and be able to sniff out when government, who have no accountability, because, they don't actually have to make a profit, when they look at the taxpayers as their piggy bank and they can justify their cool chopper. Look at how agitated Mark Ellis is that he can't get his little toy helicopter up there because his big brother, who's the undersheriff in Spokane County, has a far superior air unit. And I think he's just living in his big brother's shadow and doesn't like it. So, that's why I am more than qualified to know I don't need a helicopter, because businessmen, we outsource stuff because we're smart, not like sheriffs that have never held a real job in their life, except for selling cars. Some of them selling cars at auction from LASD surplus patrol cars loaded with Kevlar vests and shipped to Cambodia, only to get intercepted by the State Department. But that's for another time.
I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I was trying to say, but you did like Airwolf.
Oh, I love Airwolf, man.
Come on now. You
Stringful
give
Hawk.
Some credit to Airwolf. I want to touch back on this. You already said it, actually, without even
I know, Shane. I know who you are. I'm just teasing you.
Tim Remington sits on the KCRCC Rating and Vetting Committee. So what this harkens back to is why a lot of times you hear from week to week as we do this broadcast, you hear the same names that we will circulate, and some of them are involved in different stories. Like earlier tonight, we're talking about Sheriff Bob Norris and Davalu Cummings, and you're like, well, what does that have to do with Stephanie Fetzer and Paul Van Oy and Tim Remington? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, you see every single one of these names is connected.
All the time.
Another one that I was looking at tonight was we had done an investigation on the Henry Middleton fake profile. Tim, another.
Well, you're talking about Matt.
So Matt Irving. To getting too many names mixed up, but his name came back to mind tonight because we're now looking into Tim Remington, and not that we didn't already have experiences with him, as Dan noted. These guys exposed themselves throughout the campaign at bare minimum because they were acting so weird. Yeah. Like, you were acting so weird, it's not even normal. So you're drawing attention and exposing yourself, and now here we are. But Matt Irving was at the Charlie Kirk Candlelight Vigil and was pushed up onto the stage, and he was praying, which turned into a 10-minute, like, hey, look at me session. Anyway, we did a good 10-minute investigation on him when he came on as a disruptor onto our platform out of nowhere. Didn't know who the guy was, but he ties in. He's on this ministerial association that Paul Van Oy is the president of, and then he's on video at that Charlie Kirk Candlelight Vigil where he's going from a virtual unknown to being propped up by, guess who? Tim Remington and John Padula are standing right behind the dude.
And Paul.
And Paul was there too.
Head of the Ministerial Association.
Paul was there too. But clearly on the video, you got Remington, Padula, and then Matt Irving. And again, so these names, it's like, we wouldn't even know who you are, but you come onto our platform and you got your loaf of bread and you're like dropping it because you can't help yourself. Just go do the evil things you're going to go do. We might not even know, but you keep coming here because you cannot. And I said this last week, because part of that, when you're doing evil, you cannot stand to leave the truth alone. I'm going to go mess with the truth and discredit that because my evil isn't, that's not going to be strong enough to withstand the test of time. So I'm going to go mess with evil. Yeah. And that's why I'm sorry, Sarah from Grooveberries. I don't care how innocent that you believe it was and what you think you have to contribute to it. But Sarah Grooveberry from Grooveberries came onto our platform. Same thing. Leaving sarcastic comments. I don't know you. Well, guess what? We're doing poking around. Sure enough, you tie all back into these circles, whether you knew you did it or not, or you're being taken advantage of. Yeah. Because it was a political masterpiece to gain national notoriety and get a lot of donations. And now that's the Charlie Kirk stickers on the yogurt cups. But so Sarah, if you're just happy to proclaim Charlie Kirk's name and let live and put him on your ice cream cups, then go do it. Leave us alone. Mm-hmm. But you can't, because Fetzer is known enemy to the Wilsons, and she was at the center of Stickergate, which I think was a complete sham. So you can fight me to the death on that one. I don't know if there were other. Yeah, and while you're pulling up some other comments, we're going to pretty soon explore more of this erroneous TPUSA Faith Hub organization for what it really is. And we're going to make many of you mad. But I think many of you are going to be mad when you realized that you're trusting too much into your church leaders who are tying themselves at the hip with other faiths and religion and becoming pantheistic. You don't want that. And look, respect everybody in their own religions, but that's why we have the different denominations, right? The different faiths. You cannot combine them together. And we can get into a lot of theological reasons for that. Doesn't mean that you can't come together in a community and support the same things. But when you tie many faiths together, like, the NAR, New Apostolic Reformation, and the 7 Mountain Mandates. And I mean, some of the things that were being proposed and promoted by TPUSA and Kirk were not good. And Paul Van Noy is proud to be a sponsor with Candlelight Fellowship, the church that says that Catholics aren't going to heaven, and same with Mormons. But yet he has no problem joining up with an organization, the Faith Hub, including Stephanie Fetzer, who has ties with Scientology, from what we understand. Yep. You guys are all getting taken for a ride. And that's why it matters when this Kootenai County TPUSA Faith Hub is being pushed on your county, and you have political activists and agitators like Stephanie Fetzer saying days after the Charlie Kirk assassination, she's posting on her timeline as if this is ever so important. If your pastor didn't talk about Charlie Kirk over the weekend, you need to go find a new church. Now, tell me that statement is not politically motivated from a political activist, been doing it professionally for 20 years, that shows up here out of nowhere from Sacramento County and is causing all kinds of problems, religious and political chaos in Kootenai County. So that's a little sideline there. Keith, Daniel Brewer, after your coverage of the scums doing scummy things recently, I'll be voting for you in the next election for sure. Keith, thank you very much, but you'll have to write my name in because I've done my one and done. I will not be running again. Have no intention. One was enough for me. I'm not cut out for politics. I think we can be just effective here. But you and I had this discussion, by the way. Mm-hmm. We have no problem continually coming out and exposing wrongs and promoting the truth. But one day we may just disappear. When our job is done, no fanfare, we're just going to pop smoke and be done. I think that is the most likely scenario on that one. We're both in alignment on it, and we don't know when that moment will be, but I think we will both know when we know. Yep. And that's exactly how that's going to go down. Yeah, if you're doing the right thing, those of you out there, anybody that wants praise constantly or needs to be in office for a prolonged amount of time, including state legislators that have been there for multiple terms, sorry, it's an ego thing. It always goes to their head. I'm just telling you right now, whether they say it or not, they become used to it. And I think all of us need to be a lot more low key. And while I'm at it, Paul, Tim, other pastors, other leaders, you better be very careful on what you're saying.
You have no idea the amount of people that have come to us, that we have the resources, and when push comes to shove, we will release it all, regardless. Everything be damned. We're doing this in a methodical way, do things correctly. But if I find out that anybody threatens any of these victims, online or otherwise, I will make you all famous. I will expose you to the depths of the sea, to the sky above. And I'm expecting those of you out here in the community that also want to stand up for righteousness and these brave witnesses and victims that have come forward to also support them. Do not put up with the bullying online. But if you push us, I'll release the Kraken. Just try me. C.S. Lewis, he says, if you look for truth, you may find comfort in the end. If you look for comfort, you will not get either comfort or truth, only soft soap and wishful thinking to begin, and in the end, despair. I don't know about you, but I want to know the truth so that I can prepare. I don't want to live with my head in the sand. And I know you don't either. If you're doing wrong in this county, we're coming for you. And hell's coming with us, so to speak, to coin Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, and Tombstone.
No, now you're going to get...
I know. Sorry, Dave.
You're going to get it for whatever...
Hey, go up to... Look what I got today at Stella Stogie's in Spirit Lake. A cool bottle stopper.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stella's, and I'm going to smoke one of their beautiful smokes right after this show.
It's coming up next.
Stella Stogie's in Spirit Lake.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. Visit our website to watch past episodes. View those other exclusive reports. We've got one on Pastor Matt Irving. It's a good one. I kind of watched part of it again today, and we've got a great one, 20 plus minutes on Stephanie Fetzer, because she is a problem in this county. And even since that has been released, I've learned more. We hold back. Like Dan said, we are more methodical. So libertywithoutcompromise.com. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That handle for YouTube is at the Idaho Sheriff. We still do use that handle, and we will. That's just how it's going to be. Make sure to like and share the Idaho Sheriff Facebook page. The most reasonable people in this community are waking up to what's going on here, so we appreciate you joining us in this fight. For those of you that like podcasts, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. Feel free to share this live stream even after it's over. People need to hear it. It's important.
Now, be strong and of good courage. Pray for Jim Harbin. You didn't descend from fearful men. You understood that you descended from men that were tough, understood the times. He sacrificed so much for you. What are you willing to do? Get out of your comfort zone to pursue truth and righteousness. If you guys have your story, if you want to share something with us, send it to us at info@libertywithoutcompromise.com. We want to hear every story. May truth reign supreme. Good night.